Hello everyone and welcome back. The next section given to us is Game On. And the first topic given in this is Hop, Skip and Jump. So let's get started. It's a very simple and a well-known game played by children around the streets. Unlike other big games, it does not require any special court or place to play the game. It can be played anywhere in a small place also. It is a good game for kids because it requires very little space and can be played both inside the house and outside the house. There are certain rules to play the game, but they can be changed according to the player's wish to make it more interesting. Now, we will learn that how the game is known by different names as we go to different places. It is called hopscotch in English, but in India it is played with many names. For example, it is known to us by names like Stapu, Ekhad Dukhad or Kitkit. It is also called Kunte Bille in Karnataka, Pandi in Tamil Nadu, while Tokudu Billa in Andhra Pradesh and Khane in Kashmir. If you talk about other countries, this game is equally famous over there and is known by various names such as in Persian it is called Lele, in French language Escargot, which means snail, and in countries like Germany, Austria and Switzerland it is played by the name Himmel and Hölle, which means heaven and hell. Let us see how this game is played. First of all, a grid having 8 squares is drawn on the ground using a chalk. Then the player will take a marker such as a flat stone or a piece of tile or shell. He or she will toss it into the first square of the grid. Then he hops from the first square to the last, that is the 8th square. When he reaches the last square, he turns around and hops back, but stops at the second square to pick up the marker that he had tossed into the first square and steps out of the grid. Like this, the player will continue to play until the player has completed all the rounds successfully. Throughout the game, the player has to play on one foot only, except in one case where there are 2 squares side by side. Here, he can keep his one foot in one square and another in one square. Now, if we talk about the rules of this game, there are no specific rules as such. Yes, there are some basic rules like tossing a marker, hopping across the squares on one foot and so on, but the players are free to change or make their own rules in order to make the game more trickier or interesting. Now, there are many situations when a player is considered out, like if the marker does not land in the right square, the player will be out. He is also out if the marker, while being tossed, touches any borders of the grid, or sometimes the player loses his balance while hopping on one foot and happens to touch the border by mistake. Then also he is considered out. So, this game requires the player to be physically agile, alert and quick. Besides this old and traditional way of playing hopscotch, there is a new version introduced called number hopscotch. In this also, there is a grid of squares, but what is changed is its numbering. The squares are numbered from 1 to 12 and the player does not have to toss a marker into the squares. Instead of this, the player keeps hopping through the squares without stepping into the wrong square. It can be made trickier by making the player keep his hands back, or he may also be asked to jump only on either even or odd numbered squares. Along with having fun in this game, it also teaches us many things, such as it teaches us to win and lose. It teaches us to observe the things carefully with concentration and also to think logically. It also teaches us to plan out things. Through this game, we also learn hand and eye coordination, which helps us to improve on our sensory and motor skills.